Welcome, and thank you for joining us. My name is Eamon Shandell, and I am Head of Relationship Management at the Natural Resources Forum. On behalf of all forum sponsors, we thank you for tuning in as we support and officially introduce the Tajikistan-UK Mining Forum, taking place on Monday, the 19th of May at the London Stock Exchange. All forum details, including agenda and speaker profiles, are listed on the website tajikistanmining.com. The Tajikistan-UK Mining Forum represents a key milestone in strengthening mining cooperation and will serve as a platform for investment, exchange of knowledge, and collaboration along the mining value chain, and aims to demonstrate the vast potential of Tajikistan's mining sector while promoting partnerships with leading global enterprises. It gives me great pleasure to introduce you to our moderator today, Guy Wintner, partner at the Global Mining Group of international law firm Fasken. Guy, thank you for joining us. I'd like to hand over to you now.
Thanks so much for the introduction, Eamon. We're super excited about the Tajik-UK Mining Forum at the London Stock Exchange on the 19th of May. I think it's going to be an incredible opportunity for people to hear about the wealth of geology, the opportunity for environmentally friendly hydro-powered mining in a politically stable Central Asian location. There really are some wonderful opportunities for mining companies and investors. We've recently seen last month the EU announce its Central Asian Partnership, 2.5 billion euros of investment in mining projects in Central Asia. And it's a particularly important time for critical minerals in the global context. And here in Tajikistan, we've got the second biggest producer of the vital defense metal antimony. So a wealth of opportunities, and it's great to have some of the people who have the best handle on those opportunities with us. What I'm going to do is ask our panel here just to say a few words about themselves and also what they see as the key opportunities in Tajikistan. I'm going to start with the man who put gold in gold sponsor, Mr. Andrew Prelea of Vast Resources.
Andrew Prelea of Vast Resources, CEO. Guy, I think it was about 3 years ago now, I was approached in a very unusual circumstance at a dinner with an Emirati national, a US government representative, a Romanian government representative, and I was asked and almost forced to go to Tajikistan against my will. And I do have to say that, looking at the map and the location and being rather ignorant in the geopolitics of the area, I eventually caved in. And I went to have a look at a tungsten mine, which was a former Soviet tungsten mine that had incredible grades. It's not our forte, but nevertheless, for political correctness, I went over to Tajikistan and I was extremely pleasantly surprised, not trying to oversell the location. But we went up there. Tungsten is not our forte. Vast is more on the realm of polymetallics and gold and silver. Sure. But during that visit, we went and saw a calcium fluoride mine that makes fluorospar, and they had an issue at that, which is a 50%, well, it's actually 100% government-owned project. And we looked at it, and they had an issue with extracting the lead and the zinc and the silver from the calcium fluoride to bring it up. We, as Vast, together with the partners that introduced me to Tajikistan, we went in there. And we managed to produce a calcium fluoride of just over 95, 97%, extract the lead and the zinc, and we did a royalty stream agreement with the entity that owns the plant. And that was our first, let's say, toe in the water into Tajikistan. But while you're in country and you're understanding the environment, you find that it is actually a remarkable country. Not only is it a very young population of just around 10 million mark, I think 10, 12 million now it's grown. The average age is, from what I understand, sub 30, highly educated. And then when you look at the minerally rich area and what sits in Tajikistan, and we in the West, being a London listed company, these are the assets that you dream of finding normally in jurisdictions like Africa, Australia, Canada, etc. So, during being on the ground, having a team set there, we started to look at other assets, and we ended up through Gulf Minerals, which is an entity that Vast is managing on behalf of in Tajikistan. We acquired a 49% stake in a basket of assets in the northwestern part of Tajikistan, and there were four ongoing assets, four producing assets in the basket of assets, and then another 9 exploration brownfields that have got historic data. So I won't drag on too much because we can talk later on within the promotional video. However, what we found there was exceptional. Average grades of gold, as I said, like Australia and Africa back in the 50s and 60s. So high grade gold. Unfortunately, the older mining methods and extraction methods, but basically it's a plethora of mineralization. And in today's world of people trying to source battery minerals, etc., Tajikistan has a twofold. You have over 700 explored areas, which is only 6% of the ground. Of those, around 20 mines that are operational. 4 of those are sitting within our portfolio, and the grades there are grading between 2 and 9 grams a ton of gold, up to 40 grams a ton in situ, 30 to 100 grams a ton of silver, and that's not to mention the gold and lead and the zinc and nearby antimony. And I'll let the ministry talk more about that, the ministry representative. But we have found an incredible opportunity for new discoveries of mineralization within the region, and I'll let Richard talk a little bit later on about the wealth of mineralization within the area, and not to mention the fact that we use green energy, and we can talk more about that at the forum and later on in this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. That's a pretty glowing testimony to the opportunities in Tajikistan. Now, Richard Oldcorn, your job is to kick the tires on the projects that mining enthusiasts like Andrew put forward. Could you tell us a little bit about your involvement in the region and how you see those opportunities in Tajikistan?
Thanks, Guy. So I'm Richard Oldcorn. I'm the chairman of SRK UK and director of SRK Kazakhstan. We've been in the region for nearly 20 years now. We opened our office in Almaty 15 years ago, and we recognised, from originally our experiences in Russia and working in the region that Central Asia was certainly a prospective area, and it's proved to be. We focused largely on looking at some of the big deposits in Kazakhstan, and moving in the last sort of 5, 6, 7 years to work very closely with the major deposits in Uzbekistan through Navoy and AGMK. And of course, when you see those enormous deposits with such enormous potential, and you look at geology, you see that the belts are going straight through into Tajikistan. So clearly, there's a huge amount of prospectivity. We're in the business of helping explorers and clients look at potential projects, and that also means engaging with the ministry and the governments to sort of explain to them how they can help explorers and people like Vast come into the country and understand what they're looking for, understand what the pitfalls might be, certainly not just jurisdictionally but geologically, and through the process of developing a project from grassroots onwards. So we're very excited to be in Central Asia. We're also really excited that the smaller countries in the region are starting to really push to develop their mineral endowment that they have, and recognize that this is something that there's no good in just having it there sitting in the ground. They need to really push to get people to come in and look and find and develop, a bit like Vast started doing.
Thank you, Richard. And it sounds like SRK are very well positioned to help guide new entrants into the Tajik market. Now, I feel like I've saved the best till last, in the sense that we're lucky to have with us Mr. Abubakr Piro from the Ministry of Industry and New Technology of the Republic of Tajikistan. Abubakr, could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how the ministry sees the opportunities and, of course, the event that we're looking forward to on the 19th of May.
Thank you so much. So guys, for introducing myself. So my name is Abubakr Pirov. I'm head of mining industry and precious metal department of the Ministry of Industry and New Technology of the Republic of Tajikistan. So the main goal for organizing this event is, of course, for introducing our huge mining potential of Tajikistan to the world, to the Western companies, to the Western investors, organizations, funds, banks, and other international investment companies. So as you well aware, so I will be panelist in the mining investment opportunities, critical minerals, rare earth, and I will in a detailed discuss and provide to the audience about our critical minerals reserves, mining industrial potential, our local programs that drafted, developed, and approved by our government for rapid industrialization of the mining industry, including mining industry of the Republic of Tajikistan. So Tajikistan is one of the largest territory in Central Asia regarding mineral resources. So the country has explored deposits of lead, zinc, antimony, copper, coal, tin, and other non-ferrous metals. So when in this regard, we have in 2018 we developed program of ferrous and non-ferrous development of metals from 2018 till 2025. In according to this program of developing mining industry of the Republic of Tajikistan, we have during these 5 years double our mining industrial potential, and the share of the mining industry in the total volume of the industry is more than 30%. So this is one of the main industry that will focusing on the growing economies, indicators, and socials. So the development of the mining and metallurgical industry is one of the necessary conditions for ensuring sustainable economic growth in Tajikistan. For remote mountainous regions, this is essentially the only feasible path to improving the socio-economic well-being of the population. So Tajikistan also have a huge potential, not only in the mining industry, but in the hydropower as well. So as you know, more than 98% of the energy that is generated in Tajikistan is hydro. And our big mining plants already received from the international organization TÜV standard. They internationally proved that products that produced by the aluminum smelter company, Zeroshan plant that produce copper, cathode copper, gold and silver, and the Talcobel that produce antimony and gold, that all these products are green. So it was approved by that international TÜV standard organization. We would like to get for another mining plants such kind of certification that approved that our products are green and using full renewable source of energy, such as hydro. So as was mentioned by Mr. Andrew, our partner, our population is young. So more than 70% of the population of Tajikistan is under 30 years old. So for sure, this one of the key privilege for investor to invest in Tajikistan. So the first, this enormous mineral resource.
Yeah.
Yes. For information, we have ranked the 3rd place in the antimony resource of the region in the CIS countries. So the second one, hydro potential, all energy generated using hydro, such as renewable source of energy, and the third is a young population that they are well skilled, fast training, and bilingual. This is the main factors that I think, I suppose, and I hope that we will focus to attract investments, to attract Western companies to invest here in the Tajikistan, in the mining industry, to fostering industry and our economy. Thank you.
That sounds like a very potent combination of advantages, Abubakr. Thank you. I just want to pick up on one thing. The concept of this hydropower. I mean, that's an incredibly high level of renewable energy that Tajikistan has in its grid. Richard, I mean, we know SRK as environmental consultants as well. You know, when you hear about that level of renewable energy, it's sort of reminiscent of, say, Quebec in terms of the ability to bring EU battery regulation compliant material to market.
It's certainly a massive plus, right, in terms of developing a project, you know, and particularly when you see that the neighboring countries are all very much reliant on fossil fuels, you know, and coal generation essentially forms the backbone of the power in Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and Kyrgyzstan as well, largely Kyrgyzstan. But so that hydropower green energy is absolutely great. Obviously, you know, there's more to the EU's requirements in terms of supply chain management than the source of the energy in terms of all the things that go down. It certainly helps, and it brings the cost down, and that's obviously a big thing. And I guess, you know, the past resources benefit from that. It helps anybody going into the business to say, well, yeah, we can do that. But you know, lots of companies are advertising their products as, you know, green nickel or green aluminium and things like that. So certainly, yeah, you know, I think if you can make sure all the parts of the chain are there, then you've got a very good story. But it's certainly a massive help and a great endowment for the future.
Fantastic. So I think we've heard a lot about the scale of the opportunity. You know, we know that there's good stuff there under the ground. We've heard about the opportunities in terms of the power and the workforce there in Tajikistan. So a lot of people are going to be asking, I'm a mining developer, I'm an investor. How do I actually get access to the Tajikistan market? How do I find the information to get started? Richard, whilst we have you on, do you have any perspectives that you could share on how one actually gets that sort of geodata to get to the good stuff?
Yes. So I think, and Andrew can comment on sort of on some specifics about, you know, their specific experience, but, you know, getting access to geological data is absolutely fundamental to encouraging people to invest in the country. And the geological data really needs to be in a format that's usable. So I think that the essence is to make sure that the country is working with partners, and sometimes, you know, there's a huge database of Soviet expeditions that started in the 40s and onwards, you know, mapping and sampling country. Some of that data, you know, was lost in the Civil War. Some of it's still there. A lot of it's still in paper format. But, you know, part of the journey now is to get that all put into electronic databases, and then you know, put it in a format that's usable for explorers and accessible. So, you know, when somebody's coming into a country, they don't know anything about the country, you know, somebody's told them, yeah, there's lots of opportunities for gold and antimony and tungsten and things like that. Well, you've got to start somewhere. So you've got to have a database that's accessible. You can go in and you can search and you can look at geological information. Let's have a look at this. Where do these trends go? Where are the previous deposits? Where should I look? So that you can make an informed decision about maybe, you know, starting negotiations about taking a license or a few licenses. Without that availability of information that's readily accessible and usable, it's really hard to encourage people to come in, because they're just blind. And the terrain, you know, the terrain Tajikistan, as most people know, is extremely mountainous. The access is very difficult. And that's probably why, or one of the reasons why the country's quite underexplored. So the potential is massive because of the lack of exploration. Stuff was being done, but there needs to be a good framework to underpin the what people want to do when they come into the country to start looking.
Thank you. Andrew, Richard gave you a bit of a trailer there, but do you have any perspectives that you can share in terms of?
I was waiting for you to ask.
Yeah.
I'm sure Abubakr will be able to provide more detail into what I'm saying, but what was encouraging, and this is a thing that I mean, I've worked in some very, let's say, colourful jurisdictions from, Romania to Zimbabwe, historically, Ukraine, and others over my, 35 plus year career in the metals industry in the last 20 odd in the mining sector. The fundamental difference, and the reason why we actually recommended to the ministry to hold this forum in London, because let's face it, London is the focus for junior miners, and until the mining sector is more sophisticated in emerging markets, it is going to be the junior miners that will drive the exploration in country. And yes, I would love to be the big bad wolf that hoarded every single possible deposit in that list of 600 plus that has data sitting in the archives. But quite frankly, I liken it to, if you open up one restaurant on a street, it's not going to do well. But if another 10 restaurants open in the same street, all of a sudden the street is busy and it becomes a destination. And it's the same thing in the mining sector. The more miners, the more investment. It follows investment, it follows, and the cheap money follows. But you've got, let's say, a historically proven mineralized country that has been left behind with a massive amount of data that, for example, we started the due diligence process on the Prelea group mines back in, I think it was October 23, where we took an option to buy out the shareholders at the time. And we had finished together with, by the way, SRK, who digitized all 4 mines based on the hard data that had existed historically. And we managed to settle within about 4 or 5 months the entire transaction. And that gave us the level of confidence. Not to mention it was in production, which made our life a little bit easier. But the whole country and the old Soviet exploration is actually, to my liking, and I don't know if Richard will agree, is quite often a lot more detailed than the current methods of your Samrik and your JORC, etc. Because they just build adits, and then they used to do soil sampling on the side of these adits. And, to be able to then create a JORC resource, then you basically need to twin 10% of the existing data, but capturing that data and digitizing it. I know that the ministry is now working on ways of making it more open for foreign investment to be able to access that data, and Abubakr can confirm later what steps they're taking towards. We're looking at doing some more aeromags and then digitization and working with the ministry to find better ways to attract foreign direct investment. And the fundamental reason for this forum and making it in London, even though we have a lot of Canadians and Africans and Americans even coming over for the forum, is that this is a forum more for strategic investors. Banks, institutions, governments, mining companies, analysts, brokers, rather than what normally happens with these forums is you get a whole group of 200, 300, 400 tire kickers who come in for a free lunch. And we chose the London Stock Exchange specifically to attract that caliber of attendee, which is what we've done. And I can say that, I've worked now for almost, a better part of 2 years together, hand in hand with the ministry, with people like Abubakr. And, we find them extremely, let's say, amenable to discussing alternative ways from things that have been done in the past. How do we make Tajikistan more successful? How do we attract better foreign direct investment from the West? Because I can tell you now, there's no shortage of money coming into Tajikistan from China and the desire from Russia. But Tajikistan is, from my opinion, is now looking west because we bring in new technology, we bring new methods in, we bring new financing sources, we bring new interpretations, things that where we've advanced, where as a Western mining company, we've had to adapt in very hostile environments, economically speaking, where we've got wage inflation, where you've got no water, where you've got no power. Whereas in a country like Tajikistan, you've got a young population, fairly inexpensive population that, and most of them do need retraining in modern methods of mining. But you've got, wherever you've got resource, you've got a potential. And what's amazing about Tajikistan is that your infrastructure exists. So everything we search for in a mining company, power, water, labor force, infrastructure, everything is already there. And that's one thing that's just not recognized. So your cost of production is actually drastically reduced. And by having green power, it will open you up to other forms of accessibility for funding. And it should make you a preferential supplier to people like the US and the UK and the other governments around the world, where they don't have to be China reliant for low cost production of strategic metals. And Tajikistan is offering that for direct investors, and they have a completely different attitude towards foreign direct investment that the other countries in the surrounding or their surrounding neighbors don't have. But what they have is what every mining company dreams of. They have infrastructure, they have cheap power, and they have an abundance of water, and they have a willing population, a willing, stable government to attract that type of investment that will be the key driver of their economic policy in the not too distant future and beyond, because it really is an untapped market.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Andrew. Now, Abubakr, these are your natural resources and your geological data that we're talking about. So it would be great to have your perspective in terms of how Tajikistan can work with foreign investors and new entrants to help them to develop those mineral resources in partnership with Tajikistan.
Thank you so much for your question. From more than 93% of our territory is mountainous, and from these percent, covering only 6-7% was geologically explorated. Only 6-7%. Do you imagine? So it's a very less in comparison with the very big mountainous areas. So we have a very big potential of reserves that not be exploited, not surveyed. In this regard, we add another panel for geological exploration and prospect opportunities in Tajikistan. In this panel, our head of main department of geology will attend as moderator, and we are collaborating with our partners from Loft Orbital and other companies that are providing new advanced technologies using remote control for fostering mapping and providing data analysis during 1-2 weeks to the main data center for processing and getting preliminary data of resource of the area that not that being geologically exploited. And also we are drafting executive orders, a decrease of government for shortening period for getting license to the companies for during 3 years. They have to finish geological exploration and drafted their technical reports and to be provided to our commission, State Commission of Resource. As it would be approved by our State Commission of Resource, these mine or deposit can be ready for extraction. So we are working on that. We would like to use new advanced technologies. We are working with USGS, with SGS, with British Geological Survey in this regard. So we are close relationship with the advanced companies that are using AI technologies, which is for sure very useful for getting data, for processing and getting more results and huge our industrial resource. As was mentioned, our main mines that currently are extracting and operating was exploited during Soviet Union. And in this regard, we need fostering our geological exploration and geological survey. Our geological main departments, they have drafted several concrete programs for geological development programs from, if I'm not mistaken, from 2025 till 2030. They have provided several licenses for exploration in the rare elements such as lithium, tantal, niobium, beryllium, cesium, and others. We have discovered such kind of elements. We already discovered such kind of elements with industrial category. Maybe in 1 or 2 years, they will be approved by our State Commission on Resource. This deposit will be ready for extraction, and we will be the first country in the region CIS that will be extracted lithium, tantal, niobium, cesium, and other rare elements. This is a very unique mine and area. We are close relationship with other counterparts from other countries, such as Kazakhstan, European countries from Austria, Vengria, United States, Australia. They have very huge potential and capacity for using such kind of technology and such kind of experience. We recently, about 1 month ago, we launched our first international and certified minerals laboratory that can do any kind of analysis, including fire assay, atomic, spectral, for covering more than 70 elements. And currently all our enterprises plans that getting license for extracting or for geological exploration, they have to take results of certification of the ore concentrate from that consistent laboratory. So
fantastic. Well, it sounds like a very welcoming environment for international investment. Now, one thing I just want to drill down a little bit on is, and actually Andrew touched upon, the infrastructure in Tajikistan as an advantage for the mining province. But of course, we've talked a bit about exploration, we've talked about extraction, but you actually have to get the material to market as well. So I wonder, Andrew, if you could elaborate a little bit on the infrastructure that will help people to get their product to market.
Yeah, can I just add one point to Abubakar's other point is, dealing in Romania where they still have the secrecy law for accessing data, which is why we're probably the only mining company operational there at the moment, and the big players haven't managed to break ground. Whereas in Tajikistan, at the moment, they are implementing the regulations to make that data that Abubakr is talking about, that they are now gathering and implementing with AI data centers, as well as they're going to start digitizing the historic data. That is in process now of being readily available for foreign investment. If I'm not correct, Abubakr, that is part of the legislation change that he's referring to. Well, yes, infrastructure is a problem. I mean, Tajikistan is a landlocked country. They've got some neighbors that are not generally, appreciated by the West, being, you've got Afghanistan on one side, you've got China on the other. You've got a mountainous region which blocks Tajikistan from entering into Pakistan, which will make the port access a lot easier. Then to the north, west, you've got Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan. I think there are a couple of other stans in between. The issue is it is landlocked. There are ways, for example, the aluminium company does a lot by rail and truck, and that goes across, through some of the stans across to Georgia. From Georgia, at Potties can then get moved across into Turkey, from Turkey into Europe. So far, they've been a regional supplier and receiver of goods for primary industry. but they are working on at the moment on a new road network into Pakistan, which it shouldn't be hopefully too far away for accessing a port. But other than that, I mean, for example, we're now in the gold and silver business. So, we're talking about, large tonnage, not huge quantities, air freight. That's not an issue. Refining in country is available. There is a small copper smelter there and another lead one being built. But on the mass metals, we're exporting, lead and zinc. At the moment, it's all going into China because it's that's where most of the smelters are anyway. But looking west, with the current situation, political climate with the US, there are other methods going out. But part of the benefit of having a low power, low water costs, low transportation costs, low wage cost, and the advantage at the moment is that if you have to pay a little bit more for transport, you can absorb that cost. So your all-in sustaining cost is in Tajikistan at the moment is substantially cheaper on all of your metal mining and beneficiation, and that way you can absorb the cost of external transport. But depending if you're talking about rare earths and other, let's say, precious metals, then it really, I mean, there are daily flights to the west part that $29 for a ticket on a new, 757. So, air travel is cheap, so is air freight. But there are ways, there is railway out of Tajikistan for the bulk metals. It doesn't quite work for coal at this stage, but for the, when you're looking at copper, where it's sitting, and gold and silver and tin and zinc and lead at the prices they're at, these prices for logistics can be easily absorbed. Moving forward, because you have to look at long-term strategy for mining, there will be a corridor into seaports within the time frame where inflation is going to affect mining. Let's put it that way. And if you take a long-term strategy, the cost of transport is de minimis in the grand scheme of things when you compare your all-in sustaining cost for the extraction of metals in country.
Thanks, Andrew. Now, Richard, you have a perspective on the other Central Asian markets as well as Tajikistan. All eyes have been on Central Asia, I suppose, in the mining world with the EU's recent announcement there. Do you see Central Asia opening up and developing as a wider market in the years to come? And what would Tajikistan's role in that look like?
I think, no, absolutely, it will develop. I mean, the EU, strategic, agreements with Kazakhstan and the critical minerals framework, and the geopolitical world we're in is encouraging, obviously Europe and the UK to look for alternative sources of supply. I think Kazakhstan has gone a very long way as a sort of, it's the biggest country in the region. It's the most developed in terms of its minerals, subsoil code, and its mineral code, and its ability to attract investment. So that's sort of setting the standard, and the other countries coming on as well. So Uzbekistan is now, it's been opening up. It's encouraging the investment, things like that in Almag and Lavoy. Potential listing, as the president mentioned last month, in London, and so that momentum is definitely there. Obviously, a very high gold price helps, but that whole critical minerals thing, and the same, and you see the similar things with Kyrgyzstan. I think Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan are going to follow in that wake, and I think if nothing was happening in those two big countries, I think you'd be hard pressed to get the momentum. But there's some very big opportunities, as Abubakr said. It's very underexplored, as you said earlier. When you look at a minerals map of Tajikistan, you see lots of small deposits. You see some gold here and some antimony there, but literally on the doorstep of northern Tajikistan is Almag copper gold deposit, or largest in the world, in that northern sort of central Tian Shan belt. You've got the southern Tian Shan belt, which contains, if you follow it, if you extrapolate it up northwest into Uzbekistan, you've got Muratau, Mantetau, Zarmitan, these world-class deposits. And you coming in through to Geologically and all those places, on close to the border. So the opportunity to follow those trends, start looking. You know, as Abubakr said, it's not easy when you're in that sort of terrain, but with the technologies that are available now that are being developed around prospectivity, around regional and assessment of large data sets, using machine learning, AI to help you understand trends, look at structures, look at where mineral deposits may be that they're not obvious. And, you know, as Andrew said, all credit to the Soviet expeditions. You know, they went out for months and months on end in the worst possible conditions you can imagine, mapping, sampling, analyzing, writing, producing reports. So that basis of some of that is really fundamental. And I think once people start to realize that, you know, when you look at a map of, you know, Western Australia and Yilgarn block, and you look at kind of the similar sort of size cratons and blocks in this region, that the you know, people will start to realize that this is actually, you know, big game country, and that there's opportunities, you know, in all those countries. How easy it is to access the data and do the exploration and manage all the vicissitudes of ESG requirements from your stakeholders and governmental restrictions and issues such as how do you fit in with the local process for developing a project. You know, there's often a parallel process, certainly is in Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan. Those are things that come with knowledge and experience, you know, so you don't go, you know, and that's why you need good advice to help you when you're doing these things. But yeah, I think when people look at the bigger region, you know, it's really where do you choose to target, and you know, maybe you want to be in the street where there are some other restaurants.
Well, I would say
not completely on the strip, right, at the far end.
Yeah. We would always say you don't want to be the only lawyer in town, Richard. And
Yeah,
exactly. in your world. Wonderful, thank you. Now I want to give the final word before we hand back to Emone, to Abubakr. You know, really excited about hearing more at the conference. Is there any sort of final advice that you would give to people who are considering an investment in Tajikistan?
Yes, I'm looking forward that this event will be very productive and fruitful, and more counterparts, more stakeholders will get familiarized with our industry potential, with including mining potential, with our hydro potential, that with our successful cases such as Prelea partners from vast resources, and another our companies will also be attended in the forum. And I hope that this event will be driver for organizing another events, for attracting FDI to our industry. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Abubakr. Thank you to all of the panelists. Really looking forward to spending some time with you all on the 19th. And now I'm going to hand back to Emone.
Thank you, Guy, and thank you to all our speakers for sharing your insights. Please do take a look at our websites, naturalresourcesforum.com and tajikistanmining.com, for details on how to register to attend this event in person. And if you would like to get in touch with any of our speakers, please do not hesitate to reach out. Contact details are listed in the credits, and we will be happy to introduce you. Thank you.